everybody. It's Amy. I am a psychotherapist with over 30 years of experience, and I am here to talk about, with my friend Buck, we're going to talk about putting some fun back into our dysfunctional lives. And my dysfunction is that I've had MS for the past 31 or 32 years now. And here's my friend Buck to introduce himself.
I'm Buck. I've been in therapy since I was in fourth grade. Amy and I have known each other since seventh grade. Um, I am currently under a new psychiatrist. I am bipolar. And pretty much my whole life I've dealt with therapists or psychiatrists and medication. And so I'm kind of dysfunctional, but I'm trying to put some fun back into it. And today we're going to talk about compassion. But before we do that, Amy, what was your dysfunction of the week?
Well, I've had a couple, but the one is more like just a frustration, but the one that was really sort of uh, adjacent to the MS is my cat's feeder or my cat's water feeder is we have one of those water fountain feeders, and sometimes it gets messed up or something, and I came out of our bedroom and the feeder was making all this noise. So I went over to try to figure out what was going on, and really now I realize what the thing is. The problem is like it was unplugged, which is all it was. All I needed to do was plug it back in. But I'm like messing with it, and I was like leaning over or reaching up or something, and my foot slipped out from under me. I think I was standing on one foot, and it slipped out from under me, and I landed really hard on the feeder, on my side. Have a nice looking bruise down the side, and I don't know if I broke a rib or whatever, but that was sort of that's one of those things that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have MS. Like I would have been more stable on my legs or whatever. I mean, I still would have been clueless about like figuring out how to plug the thing in, but or figuring out that was what the problem was. But the falling and really racking my ribs, and hopefully I did not break one. I don't think so because I'm not like screaming in pain, but it's just annoying and it really hurts to like reach down and stuff right now. So, but that was just 2 days ago. So I'm
Uh,
hoping it's better today than it was yesterday. And so tomorrow it'll be better than it was today. So, but that was a really stupid thing to do. That was pretty dysfunctional.
my dysfunction is I'm living in an apartment building that they're redoing. So
Oh,
they actually want everyone out because they're
oh,
really making it high end. So apartments now have a washer and a dryer, and they have a dishwasher, and they have like granite countertops, and a
yeah.
built-in microwave oven and all this stuff. So they're working all the time. So if you hear noise in the background, it's them working. So
Okay.
the other thing that they're doing, I think that they're actually really trying to get people out. They've tried to give us money to move, but
Ah,
they're doing things. So they've gutted this apartment that's right across from our bedroom, right across the little courtyard thing. It's not really a courtyard, it's too short. But they leave the lights on at
oh,
night.
that's annoying.
So it shines right into the bedroom. And the apartment below, the lights are on and it shines up. There's no curtains, but they leave the lights on.
Yeah,
So
that's annoying.
Mario said something to them. So yesterday I just went over and you have to find somebody who speaks English, which is really hard because they're all workers. And so they don't
Yeah.
really speak English. So they speak French. So
Yeah.
I finally found one and I said, this apartment, the lights are on all night long and it shines right into the bedroom. And he was like, so I had to say it in French. So he opened the apartment and he goes, I don't know where the lights, and there was a plug because they're work lights. And I just unplugged it.
Yeah.
And I said, I want them off. When you're not working, I want
Turn them
them off.
off.
And I
Yeah.
said, the apartment below, I want the lights off because it's like our bedroom at night, even though we have curtains, it's all lit up.
Yeah.
It's hard to
That's
sleep.
annoying.
And I think that they were told to leave lights on and to leave work lights on to make us leave. I mean, the noise is bad enough. They're
Yeah.
right under us. They've gutted the apartment below us so you can hear every word they say, and
Nice.
they drill in the floor and the cat runs to the bedroom and it's a lot to put up with. Once it's done, it'll
Yeah.
be fine because and we'll still have the cheaper apartment. There's that. I mean, there's little things wrong with the apartment. It's outdated, but it's still a fine apartment. There's really
Yeah.
no reason to move. There's really,
Right.
you know, we made it work. So, it's
Yeah.
kind of messy and everything, but I don't really care anymore. At this age of my life, I don't really care anymore.
No.
We don't have
Yep.
guests over. We don't have dinner parties. We don't have any of that stuff. So what
Right.
difference does it make what it looks like? So
Yeah. I
anyway,
understand.
so that's my dysfunction, but I dealt with it. I dealt
You know,
with it.
did you ever see the Jerry Seinfeld episode where the Kenny Rogers Roasters is keeping Kramer up all night? There's lights, and anyway, that's what it reminds me of. I just want to say, is it Kenny Rogers Roasters? Anyway, that's annoying though. I can get that. Totally annoying.
But I have a feeling they were told to do
Could very well
that. They
be.
were shining not in the workroom, but they were shining through the window.
Yeah.
They were aimed at the window.
They're specific. Yeah.
So it's shining right into our bedroom.
Nice.
So, and I'm
not okay.
So they're not even working on that apartment. So
so why did they die?
So today we're going to talk about compassion.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you start off with
okay.
this.
Well, I mean, this is partially, I was reading this book called Into the Magic Shop, and it's about a guy who, learns about, setting intentions and, really working for what he needs and what he wants in his life. But he talks also about, he has set up a program at Stanford University, and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like Sea Care or something like that. But it's a research project for compassion, where they are looking at how compassion and being compassionate changes your brain and makes your life better and makes things easier. And I thought it was so relevant because I was reading, I'm sure it was Musk, who said something about compassion is like a terrible thing to have. It keeps you from being able to get things accomplished. And there's some truth to that, because people who are kind and compassionate and understanding and empathic they're the kind of people who, instead of working really hard to beat everybody out to get the best position, they're the ones who say, well, it's somebody else's turn, or I can manage without that, or I don't need that, or whatever. And so they don't look as successful because monetarily they're not as successful, because they're willing to let somebody else have the spotlight or have the good jobs or whatever it is. Right. So so if you're looking at what we think of as success in this country, which is you've gotten to the top of your, whatever corporation you're the manager of, and you keep as much money as you can for yourself and just work people really hard and don't give them what they need, but keep everything for you because you're going to take care of your people and your own and not need anybody to rely on or whatever. And all those people are just leeches, whatever. Those are the people who we consider the top of the heap. That's why Trump's the president, is because people go, well, he must be a really great businessman or whatever. But it's just because he has no compassion for anybody else, has no empathy for anybody else, and so is willing to throw everybody under the bus in order to get what he wants, which he's been doing. And that's why he's got more money than he did and all that kind of stuff, which is reprehensible in a politician. They're not supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be making sure they're taking care of their constituents, which most legislators don't really. So, but this project that this guy has in Stanford has shown, empirically validated, that having compassion changes your brain in a very good way and actually makes you happier and healthier and more, more joyful, all those things. Being compassionate, helping other people, and that's what I've always said is it's hard for me to accept help because I'm proud and all that kind of stuff. But when you don't accept help, you're basically keeping other people from being able to help you, from having the opportunity to give to you. I was talking to my nephew. We were talking about my nephew's on the spectrum. He's really smart and he's a really great kid, but he's a little spectrumy. And he was going, I don't understand that it's better to give than to receive. I really like getting gifts. And I go, but so we have Christmas in July at our family reunion every summer, where we give
Right.
each other a present, and it's just a, we do it like white elephant, like you can steal and trade and all that kind of stuff. It's just
Right.
that kind of thing. So he had bought this was it like a Kirby plushie, like a plushie
Mhm.
that the grown-ups would be like, thanks, but the
Yeah.
person who got it was my nephew's fiance, and she loved it. And
Right.
Robbie was so proud that he'd gotten something that somebody really wanted and really liked and was really happy to have. And I said, so Robbie, do you remember what you got as your present? And he was like, he couldn't remember. But I said, but you remember what you got for Tatiana, and she really liked it. So which do you think was more important to you? And he goes, giving her that gift was really the coolest thing. I was like, so
Right.
that's what we're talking about. Is when you give somebody something, when you are compassionate and make sure that people are taken care of or people are happy or whatever, you get a boost. You get a dopamine hit.
Right.
Your brain likes it, you know?
Right.
So when they say compassion is a detriment to success or whatever, when they are completely missing the boat of what life is all about, you know?
Right.
So
I mean, I
that's,
consider myself an empathetic person and compassionate. Maybe because of my mental illness, I have sort of drawn back from that, kind of protected myself. I don't really
yeah,
have a lot of interactions with people. Um, when I see when I go to the psychiatrist, it's a mental health facility, so you get blood and you go to this office and that office, this waiting room, that waiting room. There are people there that are really, gone.
yeah,
They're just gone. And you see their caretakers with them because they have to have somebody with them. So it's their spouse or their friend or whatever like that. And the empathy that I have is just overwhelming
yeah,
because, these people, I mean, function, but they can't function. They can't
yeah,
function at all.
right,
Somebody has to do everything for them. They just can't function at all. And they have no life. And it's not their fault. And,
right,
the empathy I have is so great that sometimes I have to turn away because it hurts.
yeah,
Sometimes empathy hurts. There's a woman on the street when I go to the gym, and she's always in front of the dollar store. And she's obviously somebody who did a lot of meth and stuff, and she's out of her mind.
yeah,
So, I mean, she's literally out of her mind. She doesn't have teeth. She's she sleeps in front of the dollar store. She sometimes just screams, in French. She just screams. I saw another one today. This is a new one that started to pop up. And she was just ranting and throwing bags of clothes and stuff that she's collected and just screaming in French and cursing and stuff like that. And, they're, they may be high, but they're mentally ill. There's something
yeah, oh yeah,
made them, I guess meth made them feel like they were functional or whatever like that, whatever drug they do. But now it's to the point where they can't function at all. And,
right,
I just walk by them, you know,
yeah, yeah,
ask for money and I can't. I just,
right,
sorry, just walk by them. Um, there's
yeah,
only so much I can do. Whereas, in talking about compassion, I am so in awe of my husband, my ex-husband, who he does things for people that it's just amazing. Like he has a guy who he's been talking to for a couple of decades, and he's a street guy, and he now has an apartment. He now has housing. I think Mario helped him get housing.
yeah,
So now he's not on the street. He's not so crazy. And he collects metal. And every once in a while, Mario goes over there in the morning and puts all the metal in the car, which I don't like, but puts all the metal in the car in the trunk and takes him to wherever the recycle place is. And the guy gets like $900, and that's his
yeah,
work. And Mario takes time before work. He'll do it like
enough
at
enough,
7 in the morning to do that. And he'll go to, he's part of this kind of religious meditation group, and when he doesn't go all the time, but when he goes, he'll spend hours just talking to somebody who, probably came off the street or is mentally, there's one guy who he talks to who is just, I think he's
Yeah.
extremely autistic, and actually got kicked out of the group because he kept coming on to women. He wants a
Mm.
girlfriend, but Mario still talks to him, and just things like that. I'm in awe of, because I wouldn't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
It's
I mean,
hard.
I've done that. I've talked to street people, and I've tried to help. I tried to help this black woman one night get a hotel. I gave her
Yeah.
$50 and took her to a hotel to let her. I didn't stay. I just, took her
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And she had been thrown out of her apartment for some reason. I don't know. But I mean, I will do things like that. I've tried to help people. I tried to help that guy in Chicago where I got beat up,
Yeah. Yeah.
compassion, because I couldn't leave him in the cold when he
Right.
was all fucked up and he couldn't really even function. And he was at one of the stops at the Chicago train,
Yeah.
and I couldn't leave him. I
Right.
was going to meet friends, but he was just there and he was so messed up. So I took him home. I gave a guy my shoes, one time. So I've done it, but I haven't done it recently
Right.
because I've just been more focused, I guess, on myself and been,
Yeah.
depression and stuff like that. But you know, if more people were compassionate, if
Yes.
some of these people, like friends on Facebook, when they post stuff, I don't have a lot of those friends still, but when they post stuff about, my 401k is good, and, I'm, people should, not depend on safety nets, and they need to pull themselves up by the
I hate that
bootstraps.
so much. They don't
And,
have boots.
yeah, they don't have boots. And, I don't want my taxes paying for health care for other people and the thing, and what they don't get, and what you and I have talked about, is that when you give food for kids, right, they're fed.
Hmm. Right.
Not giving food to kids, what Trump did with cutting off to the blue states food
Yeah.
for kids, money for food for kids. It's kids and
Yeah.
it's food
Right.
that you need. It's not
Right.
like buying them,
Yeah, you're not
not
buying them
buying
a Nintendo.
iPad. You're not
Yeah.
buying them
Or
iPad,
iPad. Yeah.
whatever like that, or a cell phone. You're buying them food, which they
Right.
need,
They need. Yeah.
and to cut that off shows that you
Yeah.
have no compassion at all. And to
No.
cut
No.
mental health services when you keep talking about that mass shootings are caused by mental health issues, and
But
then
we
you cut
don't fund it. We don't fund the
them
mental health programs.
for mental health. I
Surely don't.
mean, and what's that doing? It's cutting for veterans. Veterans
Yeah.
need mental health with
Of course.
PTSD. So you're not serving the people that served you.
Right.
It's like
Yep. Not at all.
there's no compassion at all. These people are suffering,
They are.
And
Yeah. Well, I was going to say there's a couple things I want to say. One is that when you open your heart and you really pay attention to how people feel, then it can be very hard and scary and just like overwhelming. There's how there's clairvoyance and clairaudience, like you kind of whether you believe it or not, there is something called clairsentience, which is where you can sense other people's emotions. And I think that one of all of them is most based in science. That because you have something called mirror neurons in your head, which are your neurons don't know the difference between when you see something or you look at something, your brain doesn't know the difference between you doing it and the other person doing it. That's just how brains work. So the speculation of like why some people are autistic or whatever is and where they don't have compassion is because they don't necessarily have mirror neurons that will kind of help you have empathy. It's
right,
things like mirror neurons. You have them when, like, if you're ever watching like a sports game, football or whatever, and you go, oh, and you get all involved in it, and you kind of feel it. That those are your mirror neurons. They don't know the difference between you watching somebody playing and you playing
Right.
yourself. So
Right.
the way they discovered that was they had a monkey hooked up to some electrodes, and some guy came in and was eating something, and the monkey was watching him eat this thing, and the neurons in his brain, the part of his brain that was uh, that would light up when he ate, or that would go off when he
Right.
ate, would go off just watching the other guy eat. And they were like, huh,
Right.
what's going on? So then they did a lot of research. So that's part of it. Is that's why you have why you notice that thing, and why you can feel that stuff. That's that fellow feel, where you have a feeling for your fellow man. It's because you have mirror neurons, and because you understand it. And as an actor too, you've like really probably done a lot of work on like understanding emotions, and
Right.
being able to like show those emotions, and
Right.
all those kind of things. So that's one thing I want to say is like mirror neurons are a very good part of our brains to help us be more compassionate and more understanding, and to really
Right.
get it with other people. So that was the one thing I wanted to say. And then and I mean, and going back to uh, like just you know the idea of like work really hard for yourself and don't share, and make sure you hoard your wealth and all that stuff. That's
Right.
all that those are people who don't understand compassion, and
And
recognizing what people need, and
right.
that's just selfishness, and
Well, and
it's
it's
that's
stupid
basically
because
brain too. Is
it's
what?
stupid it's stupid
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
cutting off or dismantling the program of the aid to Africa for
yeah.
disease research and giving food and
Makes no
giving
sense.
medication, you know
Yeah.
those diseases are going to come here
Yes,
if we don't
they
stop
already have.
there.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
going to come here, and these safety nets that they want to get rid of in the US, going after Medicaid and going after, raising health premiums, not
yeah. I
funding
know.
the subsidies for Obamacare. They
Yeah, yeah.
they are
It
making
costs
people sick. They're
right,
going to make people sick.
and it's
When they
going to
make
cost
people
more
sick,
money in the long run.
right,
Yeah,
right, it's going to cost more money because there's no preventative health care. It's going
right.
to cost more money in the emergency rooms. It's going to cost more because that's
Yep.
all they have.
And
It's going to
and you're
cost
already,
more.
when people say I don't want to, yeah, when people say I don't want to pay for other people's health care, you already are, because when people don't have insurance and don't have a way to get good health care, they end up in the emergency room, and that's why your costs go up and up and up, because you're paying for those people who can't afford it. And
Right,
like, so if we had universal health care, the percentage of money that you'd be paying in your, the increase in your income taxes is going to be a whole lot less than the increase in your
right,
premiums. And,
right,
and when companies say they don't want to have, they don't want to do it, they don't want to, companies who have to pay for their employees' insurance right now would be saving a huge amount of money. The
right,
taxes that they would pay would not
right,
even compare at all. When I worked
right,
at my last job in community mental health, the highest thing, the most money that was spent, or the biggest part of our budget, was healthcare for the staff, and
right,
we could have been using that money to provide more services,
right,
or to pay the therapist more. That would have been
right,
good, because
right.
we were notoriously terrible payment, at that place. So, but
And
anyway, just makes
with
me mad.
insurance, with private insurance, it's such a you know dog and pony show. All the
Yep,
hoops you have to jump through, and then you get rejected, and then you have to reapply, and then
yep.
it doesn't cover this, and this doesn't cover this. I mean, what are you paying for? What
I'm
are you
not
paying?
sure. Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, all of that filing a claim, doing all of this stuff costs money to do that,
Oh
for
yeah,
people to look
absolutely.
at it, for
Yep.
people to put it through, to people to bring it upstairs, take it upstairs, to make sure that all of that costs time and money. And when you have
Absolutely.
universal health care, it's just paid for.
Yeah.
there's no hoops to go through. You have
Right.
a card, you show the card maybe once,
Right.
and when you have a regular doctor, you don't show it again.
That's so
And you
nice.
don't have to fill out any forms because
Right.
everything is, they have all this electronic
Right.
information,
You
and
don't have to
which they
get
don't.
a pre-approval to have some kind of thing done. You don't have to
Right,
like jump through all those hoops. Yeah.
right.
No, it
You
makes a
know,
huge difference. Yeah. I was
it costs
go
it
ahead.
costs less money because you
It
don't
costs less
have
money.
these bureaucrats having to
Right.
push paper around.
Right.
You don't have to pay those people,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
It's just the hospital. The
Right.
hospital where I go for the doctor, they're
Yeah.
the ones that handle it.
Yeah.
There's no
And they
bureaucrats.
don't right. It makes
There's
it
no
it's
bureaucrats.
yeah, it's a huge thing. I understand that it is ridiculous. My husband's premium went up from like $600, which wasn't small, but and fortunately he's turning 65 in March, so he'll be eligible for Medicare. So that will make a huge difference. But his premium went up to like $1,200 or something. It
Oh my
doubled.
God.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So, and we'll have to pay that for January and February, and then hopefully in March, and then in March he'll be on Medicare. He'll be eligible for Medicare, so that's good.
Right.
But it is. It's just that there's. I always say there's the three D's of health insurance: delay, defer, and deny.
Right.
But I tell you what, when I don't accept like I don't bill insurance for my services anymore. I just pay I have a really low fee because I just
Right.
don't want to do it because they'll do things like if you submit and you have one little thing wrong, one number wrong on these little codes and stuff that you have to submit, they just won't tell you. They just won't pay you. So you have to call and find out like what the heck is happening in order to get the money. It's just so not worth it to me. And then
Right.
one time one time they overpaid me and $50. So they sent me an envelope and said, "Please send back the $50." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not
Right.
doing that because
Right.
they're not paying you very much money anyway. Number one, and number two, like I'm sure that they've stiffed me at other times. So that was one of the reasons I quit taking insurance because I was like, if they're going to ask for their money back, then fuck them. I'm sorry, excuse my
Right.
language, but I'm just not doing it. So
Right.
anyway, so it's delay. That's don't like just put it off for as long as you can. Defer. Say, oh, we can't do it for whatever reason, and just deny the claim completely. So that's the insurance. I always say that insurance is the root of all evil
Yeah.
in this
Well, and
country. It's terrible.
there's no compassion. I
No.
mean, people buy insurance for their families, and
Yeah.
then when something, happens, they expect it to be covered. And when it's not, you know,
What can you
then
do? Then you fight.
all of the
You have to fight.
all the stress that causes,
Yeah.
all the
Well,
lack of compassion,
yep.
when somebody is really sick and they really need it, and the
Yeah.
lack of compassion that these big companies show,
You have none.
and they're,
None.
it's been proven time and time again that they're trained to deny first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're trained to deny.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it's just
Well, and
like when
there's
you,
so many people who have gone bankrupt because they got sick, and
right,
I think about that all the time that there were times when I was younger where I just didn't have insurance or, you don't think you need it when you're like 25, because you're healthy, whatever. But I got diagnosed with MS when I was 32. And if I hadn't had really good insurance at that time, who knows what would have happened, And I know so many, when I was working at my last job, there's a lot of African American people, like low income people. And I had at least one client who had a sister who had MS, and she would talk about how her sister went blind and her sister couldn't walk and all those kind of things. And she finally died, and I felt terrible. It was like, why is my life more important than her life? It shouldn't be.
right,
Her life was just as meaningful as my life, and so. But I'm just fortunate that I'm a white girl who can afford insurance and
right,
afford to make sure that I get taken care of. And this lady she was, I'm sure, on Medicare and or on Medicaid, and didn't have the resources, and no one made sure that she got the right treatment. No one took care of her at all, and it just made me feel like just awful about how there's a hierarchy of like who deserves what, you know? I don't think I deserve to have good health care any more than she deserved good health care just as much as I did. But she didn't get
Right.
it because she couldn't afford it. And that's just horrible. That's reprehensible. Medicare
I mean,
or medical care is not a want or not a option. Everybody's going to need it at some point. Everybody. I don't care who you are.
right,
You're going to need health care sometime, you know?
right.
And not just
Well,
checkup, you know?
as we wrap this up, I just want to
Okay.
talk about again what's going on in the world as far as
Yeah.
in the U.S. with these people who are bazillionaires and just you
Yeah.
know the lack of compassion, cutting programs, cutting
Yep.
uh, aid for food, cutting aid for medical research, cutting aids for vaccines in Africa, cutting. It's just this whole thing of America first and
Oh, it's horrible.
our country first. It's just they're not helping. They're not
No.
helping. People can't afford to eat. People can't
Right.
afford to live. People can't afford health insurance. People can't afford car insurance. A lot
Right.
of people don't have car insurance because it's so expensive. And
Yeah.
again, in Canada, it's universal.
Everybody has.
It costs
Yeah.
you like $600 a year. That's what it costs you.
That's it.
And
Yeah. That's great.
just with
That's what
one
people don't
price.
understand is that if you pool your resources and if everybody contributes, it's going to be a lot less money than if you have to just do it all yourself. And that's kind of
Right.
how it
Right.
is, you know. And the fact that the health insurance is for profit and that the people are like very much about like save as much money as you can also feels reprehensible to me.
Right.
And maybe if it was not for profit, if all of those companies were not for profit, I don't know if it'd be any less expensive, but it surely would be a lot more compassionate because it wouldn't be all about trying to make money, you know?
Right.
So
All
have
right. Well,
compassion, people.
that's huh?
I said have compassion, people. Be
Have
kind.
compassion, people.
Be kind. And that's the other thing I was going to tell you, Buck, is it doesn't matter if you can go out and do great things for people. Really, all it takes sometimes is just a how are you doing? I'd really like, I hope you're doing well. And just to be kind or just to say thank you and good job to somebody. That all counts too. So just be kind.
Right. Just be kind. All right. So we will
Okay.
see you next week with another topic. I'm Buck.
I'm Amy and put
All
some
right.
fun back into this your functional lives.